the world is near. Everyone be afraid. People have been trying to work out when the end of the world is going to happen for a long time. And there has been many people throughout history who've whipped people up by saying that the end times are happening right at that time in history. We've heard this recently. Over the last 18 months, I can't remember the number of times people have asked me, is this the end times? We've had COVID, we've had bushfires, we've had floods, we've had mice plagues. Should we expect the end of the world tomorrow? People have seriously asked me this. I'm not sure if you've heard people talking like this over the last 18 months, but I've found it relatively common. Maybe it's because I'm a priest, and when people are fearful, they start to think the end of the world is going to happen. And our readings today propose some of this and also propose the way of Jesus Christ. The first reading was talking about, yes, there will be an end. We don't know when this will be, but at the end, God will separate those who have lived a way of goodness and those who've rejected the way of goodness. Nostradamus, who was a French philosopher and prophet, you could say, in the 16th century, predicted that the end of the world was going to happen when Easter fell on April 25th. Well, it happened once in the 17th century, once in the 18th century, once in the 19th century, once in the 20th century, where Easter fell on April 25th. Next time it's going to fall on April 25th is in 2038. Maybe that'll be the end of the world. Who knows? St. Vincent Ferry, who was a Dominican, he talked about the end of the world and he tried to predict when the end of the world was going to happen as well. He was writing in the 17th and the 18th century. He said he predicted it was going to happen in the year 3938. And he worked that out by the number of verses and words in the book of Psalms. That's a good enough method, perhaps. The Jehovah's Witnesses have also whipped up people to think about the end times a number of times. They predicted the end of the world was going to happen in the year 2000. Well, people got afraid. People all thought there was this bug that was going to destroy all technology and we're all going to suddenly implode. Or explode, maybe. But here we are, 21 years on from the year 2000, and we're still alive. In the last, just over 18 months ago, there were people who predicted there was going to be 150,000 people in Australia who were going to die from COVID. I'm not sure what the number is at now, but we're not even close to 10,000 deaths. I'm not even sure if we're close to 5,000 deaths, let alone 150,000 deaths. Fear is a powerful tool. And sometimes people use the fear of the end of the world to try to manipulate people to change. Sometimes people like myself, priests, bishops, have stood at different times in the church and whipped up fear. But the gospel, the readings, the way of Jesus Christ is not one of fear. It's one of hope. It's one of joy. We're not called to hurry up and get ready for the end of the world because it's going to happen tomorrow. We're called to live the way of heaven today. Not because there is a tomorrow that's going to bring doom, not because we're fearful the world's going to explode because of nuclear war or because of COVID or because of whatever. We're called to be faithful and hopeful and joyful today because that's the promise of the Christian. And we're called to bring that joy, that hope, that enthusiasm to others. That's what we're called, that's what we commit to every week. When we come to Mass, we're experiencing Christ who comes into our lives to not bring us disaster and peril and negativity, but joy and hope and positivity. And that's what our world needs. In 1997, there were a group of people in the United States called Heaven's Gate who thought the end of the world was about to happen. And they had this theory that they were going to be taken by aliens and taken off to some dark place. So this pastor in the United States whipped these people up and 38 of them committed suicide. Terrible situation. There's been documentaries about these things that have happened. There's been sci-fi movies about the end of the world. We are Christians, and we are known for our love, for our joy and our hope. And our world needs that now. People in our community need to know that things aren't terrible. Things aren't disastrous. Things are hopeful. I'm looking forward to 2022 and to what will become of our community and our world. Next week, we will no longer be here. Just before Mass, we were intending Mass to happen outside. It all rained. We came in here. Next week, we'll be in the church. They're very close now. You can poke your head in the door, perhaps. It wasn't quite ready yet for this weekend, but we will be ready for next weekend. Please invite someone to come to Mass next week. Let us be a community of hope. Let's not spread fear. Let's not spread disaster. Let's spread the joy of Jesus Christ. Our gospel acclamation said, "Be watchful, pray constantly, that you may be worthy to stand before the Son of Man." I don't know when the end of the world is going to happen. If it happens tomorrow, I'm ready. I'm trying to live the way of joy, and hopefully you are as well. Let's be committed to this. Let's be committed to this today, not because the world is going to end tomorrow or in 1,000 years or 10,000 years, but we are Christians today. Let's commit to that. Let's live that way, and let's spread that hope, that joy, that goodness to all who are fearful at this time. Pope Francis has proclaimed this Sunday as the World Day of the Poor. Poverty finds its way through material poverty, physical poverty, but very often we experience poverty through those who are experiencing poverty through their well-being, their mental health, spiritual poverty. Let's be the ones who lift people up, who help them to experience joy, positivity, and hope. That's the hope. That's the life of the Christian. That's my life, and hopefully that's your life as well. Let's be watchful. Let's pray constantly that we may be worthy to stand before the Son of Man.